Okay, so today in our lesson we are going to talk about rearranging formulas. Rearranging formulas is a really important part of physics because oftentimes we'll be given equations that aren't necessarily available for the variable we want to solve, and we'll need to be able to rearrange that. So this will involve a little bit of algebra. So just a quick review on this screen here of bedmass. Bedmass you've learned in math class probably a couple years ago. So we're going to talk about how we isolate variables by getting them on one side of the equation. So right here it talks about number 3, or the third point on there, says remember what you do to one side you must always do to the other, and that's the most important concept to remember when we're rearranging equations. So at the bottom, just a bit of a review from math class. If I'm solving my first example here, I have 2x plus 1 is equal to 9. If I want to get that x all by itself, I need to move everything else to the other side by doing the opposite. So the first thing I'm going to do is isolate this, or get rid of this positive 1, or I'm adding 1. And we're always going to do the opposite. So the opposite of adding 1 is subtracting 1. So underneath that I'll write subtracting 1. If I subtract 1 from that side, I have to do it to the other side as well. So if I have a positive 1 and a negative 1 on this side, those two will cancel each other out. On the left side of my equation, I would have 2x left over. On the right side, 9 minus 1 gives me 8. So now my equation is 2x is equal to 8. Now if I want to get rid of this 2, I remember I'm trying to solve here for x. I want to get rid of this 2. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. If I divide by 2 on that side, on the left side, I have to do it on the right side. And I'm left with x is equal to 4. So at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see another example. Pause the video at this point, give that one a try on your own, and then when you're ready to go and you think you have it solved, start it up again and see the solution. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to try this one on your own. I'm just going to quickly go through the answer here. Hopefully you'll be writing this down in your notebooklet. So if my example, I have 3 and then a bracket x minus 4, and we'll talk about brackets here because you will see those in some of your equations as well. If I have a bracket, I'm going to get rid of it first by multiplying what's outside the bracket by everything that's in. So I'm going to multiply that 3 by x and then multiply the 3 times 4. So my first step here will be to get rid of that bracket. So that'll leave me with 3x minus 4 times 3 is 12 equals x plus 5. So there I am, 3x minus 12 is equal to x plus 5. Now I want to isolate all of my variables, or get all of my x's onto one side. So right now I have 3 x's on the left-hand side, 1 x on the right-hand side. So if I get this x is a positive on the right, the opposite would be basically to subtract an x. So I'll subtract an x over here as well. That'll leave me with 2 x's minus 12 is equal to, so over here an x and a minus x cancel out, and this will be equal to 5 on my right hand side. Next thing I'm going to do is add 12. We want to get rid of that 12 here, so I'll add 12 on the left, which means I also have to add 12 on the right hand side. That leaves me with 2 x's. These two cancel each other out. 2 x's on the left is equal to 5 plus 12, which is 17. So at this point, I'm almost done. I have 2x is equal to 17. I want to get x by itself by dividing by 2. Divide by 2 on the left, divide by 2 on the right. And we get x is equal to 17 divided by 2, so I could leave it as a fraction. Often in physics, we want to work in decimals, though, so I can figure this out to be 8.5. Okay, so now that we've got a little bit of a review of algebra, hopefully that was easy for you. You remember that from math class. Now we're going to take that same concept and work with some formulas. So on this page, you're going to see 4 examples. These 4 are all formulas that you will see in Science 10 at some point in time. So let's practice rearranging them. Take a look at the first example where it says V is equal to D over T. This will be a formula we'll work with in the next couple weeks. I'm just going to rewrite it like this on the right-hand side there. So as I'm writing this down, please write these down as well. I'm going to do the first example for you, and then at the end give you some time to do the next 3 before we go over them in class tomorrow. The way it's written on the left here, v is equal to d over t, it's kind of hard to see because they're all side by side, so I'm going to rewrite my formulas. V is equal to d on top of t to show that this is being divided by. So right here the question asks me to solve for d, so I want to rearrange that formula so that it says d equals something on the other side. So if I take a look at this formula, right now I have velocity is equal to distance divided by time. I want to keep that d. D is what I'm solving for, so I want to keep it where it is and get rid of everything else that's on the same side. So right now distance, there's a t that's being divided by, so I'm dividing by t. The opposite of dividing by a t would be multiplying by t. What I do to the left-hand side, I have to do to the right-hand side, so I need to multiply by a t over there. Now, this t is multiplying by t and dividing by t. I have one on the top, one on the bottom. Basically, these two end up canceling each other out, and I'm just left with a d on that side. So I can say, to simplify this a little bit, because it kind of looks messy, I can say, well, distance is equal to, I'm multiplying velocity times time. So I could write it like this, d is equal to v, my multiplication symbol, times time. I could also write it like d is equal to v right beside the t. Those also mean multiplication. Most of the time in physics we'll go with this second way, so if I'm writing things side by side, we'll put them like that, meaning multiplication. So on this page you'll see 3 more examples. I would like you to pause the video now and give those a try, and we will take them up starting at the beginning of class tomorrow. So make sure you write those examples and finish those off.